All right. Thank you again for joining. This is for the Brewster Woods apartments that are currently being built in Brewster, Massachusetts. On the call today, we have Gail Kelleher from HAC, who's going to come on a little bit later and talk about the application process. And she'll have all the answers if you have questions at the end of the call. We have John on from POA. He will talk about the units and the build inside the units, outside the units. And then we also have Jill from the town of Brewster, who will join, I think, straight off the bat. So if you're ready, Jill.
Thank you very much, Heather. So it's great to be here. I'm Jill Scalisi, the Brewster Housing Coordinator, and Donna Kalanick, the Assistant Town Administrator, will also be joining the call this evening. We are happy to be here and to share about this new housing opportunity. We understand the need for affordable housing, and the town has worked hard over the past 5+ years to help make Brewster Woods a reality. This has been a true partnership between the Brewster Housing Authority, the town, the residents of Brewster who approved Community Preservation Act funds to help build Brewster Woods, the state who provided a MassWorks grant, Preservation of Affordable Housing, and Housing Assistance Corporation. And it's great to see some folks we've worked with over these years on the call tonight. In Brewster, you'll find a community who cares. Brewster Woods is located just off Route 6A, also called Main Street, in the center of Brewster. The Council on Aging and the library are a short walk away, and Eddy Elementary School is less than 2 miles down Main Street to the east. You'll also find Breakwater Beach and the Brewster Flats, an expanse of sand to walk on at low tide down around the corner. In the fall, Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority will be adding a bus stop right at Brewster Woods as well. So thank you to everyone who helped make Brewster Woods possible, and thank you for your interest in this new Brewster neighborhood. We look forward to welcoming folks to their new homes soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. So now we have John from POA, who's going to come on and talk a little bit about the units and even maybe this sketch here that we have up.
Sure. Thanks, Heather, and thanks, Jill, for the great introduction. My name's John Springfield from POA, Preservation of Affordable Housing. We're a nonprofit affordable housing developer, and we've partnered with the town and HAC and the Housing Authority for Brewster Woods. So it's 2 buildings, and shown here is one of the buildings, and you can see it's kind of flat style apartments, and this building has solar panels. It'll have a community room on the right side, on-site management on the right side of the building, and so we're just really excited for these architect sketches to come to life and be real buildings that folks can live in. Next slide, please. And some details about what the buildings are going to be like. There will be AC, and more generally, all of the utilities are paid for by the owner, and the owner is POA, Preservation of Affordable Housing. So the rent payments include rent and utilities. The appliances in the units include dishwashers, refrigerators, ranges, ovens, microwaves, all sized appropriately for these family-sized units, to make sure that there's enough storage and ample space to cook and live and have a family. The flooring is going to be vinyl plank, which is a high quality, very durable plank surface that we tend to use in most of our properties, and actually honestly is used in a lot of market rate properties because it does look very good. It has a wood-like appearance. The square footage of the units you can see listed here. So there's 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. And I think later we might talk about the breakdown. They're mostly 2 bedrooms, excuse me, and then 3 bedrooms and I believe 8 1-bedrooms from memory. And these are the ranges of the square feet. They're kind of dictated by DHCD, the Department of Housing and Community Development. So they're all within the accepted ranges, but they do have ample storage space with bedroom closets, linen closets, coat closets, nice living rooms, nice kitchens, and large bathrooms. Next slide, please. And in terms of the broader community, there's kind of a new road and new infrastructure that was built to support these new buildings. The buildings include common laundry, tenant storage, separate from the unit in the lower level, a community room, on-site management, 24-hour maintenance that's on call, a child play structure for kids, and then some green space and landscaping around the buildings. Parking is available for no charge. There are 54 parking spaces, and several of those are identified as visitor parking. Pet policy for POA properties, no pets unless there's a reasonable accommodation. There's no smoking at POA properties, just to make sure it's a healthy place for kids to grow up. That's just a general rule at our properties. And then in terms of accessibility, the full site is visitable. So one of the buildings, which has multiple levels, has an elevator. And so that's just to make sure that anyone that has any mobility issues is able to visit any of the apartments. We don't want any parts of the community to be off limits or out of reach. And then 5 of the units are fully ADA accessible. Next slide, please. And so I think I'm going to pass it off to Gail for the application process.
Yep, we're gonna have Gail go through that. Thank you, John, so much. And if you could stay on the call, John will stay on and answer questions at the end of the call about the units, kind of the details of that.
Hey, everybody. I know some of you may already have had an application or seen an application. You could pick them up at the Brewster Ladies Library. You could also pick one up at the town hall. We have them here in our office in Hyannis. You could also go to the website, Hack on Cape Cod website, and download paper copy. And then you want to gather your information and fill out the application as completely as possible. If something doesn't pertain to you, or just put NA so we know that you didn't forget to fill it out. We have a few applications already, and some of them are kind of incomplete, and it's hard for us to figure out exactly what the actual income is. So our job is to, make sure that you're not over the income limit, and that we're just checking generally to make sure that people are within the ranges. So once you have all your documents together, you want to make copies. We don't want to have originals because we might not be able to give them back to you. And we also ask that you send them in the proper form, either in a paper form, or if you're sending them electronically. Cell phone pictures do not work with us. We can't have them as JPEGs. We really need to have it in a PDF or a hard copy paper. You can scan at Staples or the library, lots of different ways to do it. You can email them back to us, where we want to work with you and make it as easy as possible. Once everything is complete and all your documentation is together, you can return at any time between now and July 1st. The earlier you get it back to us, the better, because then we have time to go through and identify, things that might be missing. I've seen a few this week, and I get called back to the people and say, I didn't have a copy of this, or I'm missing your voucher, or I'm not understanding your income. Can you clarify? But if that happens on July 1st, we won't have a chance to do that. And then you might not be able to be in the lottery. So as soon as possible, get your applications in, and please don't wait until the last minute. Everybody always does, but you guys are special. I know you're not going to do that. I can tell looking at you. So once we get all the applications back, we will start to review them. And again, if we get a lot at the last minute, it will take us longer, but we'll be looking at them on a rolling basis as they come in now. And then we'll let you know if we need something else or something's missing. Once we have all the applications together, we know what our lottery pool will look like. And we can let you know your lottery number and when we will have the lottery drawing. The lottery drawing will be usually within 30 days of the deadline for the lottery. And we'll do it by Zoom. I want to make sure everybody understands that when we're pulling the numbers, we're creating a wait list. We're not awarding any units. So we're creating a wait list, and that wait list will be what the management company will work on, starting with the first person on the wait list to begin their tenant selection process and review. And that will be a lot more documentation than what we require for the lottery. So the lottery is just, we're creating the list, and the actual tenant selection will be done by the management company once we give them the list and the information of the people that are eligible. So in order to be eligible, you have to have income and assets that fit within the minimum and the maximum. If you are under the maximum income, that's great, but we also have to find out to make sure that you have the ability to pay. If you have a voucher or another way to pay, or no other means of money, maybe you sold your house, you have a lot of assets or something like that, then the minimum wouldn't apply to you. The minimum is important. It's just a calculation, like an estimate, to make sure that you can afford the rent. And we're also looking for to make sure that everyone is under the income limits. And the rents are based on the income limits as well. So that's how everything kind of makes it affordable, based on your 30% of your income and that type of calculation that they do. If you own a property now, that property would need to be sold before you would move in. You cannot own a property and be eligible to move into Brewster Woods. And also any applicants or their families that have a financial interest in the Brewster Woods development would not be eligible. These are the income and asset income requirements and the rents. So the 30% income level, those are project-based vouchers, and that would be the maximum income based on the household size. So project-based vouchers belong to the project. You can apply, and then they'll be awarded. They stay with the project. They're not like a mobile voucher. They belong at Brewster Woods, and they'll stay at Brewster Woods. So that's how those will work for the project-based vouchers. There's no minimum income requirement, again, if you have a mobile voucher. The 60% unit, this is what most of the units are. The rents are there. It's $1,094 for a 1-bedroom, $1,312 for a 2-bedroom. And the income limits that are there is the maximum income based on your gross income of all income from all sources for everyone in the household over 18. So if you have a child that's a full-time student, we don't count them the same way as we do a 21-year-old that might be working. So we need the income numbers for everyone who is living in the household and everyone even projecting to be living in the household in the next 12 months too, is actually how it's worded. So there's a list of documents in the application that you need. Not everybody needs all of the documents. Make sure you submit the ones that apply to you. If it doesn't apply to you, again, mark it with an NA. Once we have everything, we can decide whether or not you're eligible and review your application. And we have time to ask you for additional documents or whatever. Only PDFs or hard copy of the documents. We get a lot of cell phone pictures, and it just doesn't work. We can't read them, and it doesn't work with our system really well. If even if you want to come in here and we could help you try and scan them, or anything we can do to try and make it easier for you, we're happy to do that on those particular documents. And if you have questions, please reach out, because like I said, not everything applies to everybody, and your particular situation might be different. So we're happy to talk to you individually. Even if you had a question and you don't want to ask it necessarily on a Zoom call about your particular situation, we're happy to give you a private consultation and try and answer any questions that you might have. We're going to have you guys ask questions in the chat box at the end. You can write your questions into the chat, and then whoever needs to answer your question will be able, because I know you probably have a lot of questions. So we started the marketing on May 1st. It's a 60-day marketing period, and that will end on July 1st. During that time, we're continuously marketing, sending out documents, doing Facebook flyers, postings, answering phone calls, and we'll start to get the final applications. And I don't know how long it will take us, depending on how many applications we have, but we'll try and do that in July, and then have the lottery probably sometime in July, we hope. And then we will hand the list and the applications and information over to the Brewster Woods Management Office, and they'll start their tenant selection. So they will call you and want to have an appointment and ask for additional documentation like Corey checks and SORI checks, and look at your income and that type of thing. The project is under construction right now, so it should be complete in August or September, who knows? But somewhere around there is the goal for that. So it's coming along. I drove by the other day. It's really pretty. It's a beautiful long drive up in there. It's going to be great. So if you have questions about the property itself, like about where is the trash and what about Wi-Fi and those types of questions, Jacqueline Linehan is going to be the property manager there that will be able to answer property specific questions. If you have questions about the lottery or the application, you can get in touch with us here at Housing Assistance Corporation. And the numbers, all of our numbers and everything are on the applications.
Thank you, Gail. So we have our first question that came in. What percentage of tenants are to be current Brewster residents?
So I can answer that. This is John, and Jill, you can add anything as well from the town's perspective. But so for the initial lease up, there's a local preference, and local preference just means anyone that lives or works in Brewster. And that preference is 70%. So essentially at initial lease up, 70% of the units are technically set aside for Brewster residents, if there are enough Brewster residents that apply.
Perfect. Thank you, John. And you had mentioned that's only for the initial lease up, right? So it's not necessarily pool after people leave.
That's right. So that's correct. That initial lease up, there's a local preference, and then once there's turnover, Brewster residents are welcome to get on the wait list, but the wait list, once the property is fully leased up, is just kind of first come, first serve.
The way that the local preference works when we do the lottery is we have two pools. We have a local pool and then we have an open pool. So the people that are in the local pool get drawn, and then those same names go into the open pool. So basically, Brewster residents would get two chances at this first lottery to be chosen. But the way that they go through the list, it would be good to apply, but don't worry about the local preference, because that open list is going to be the main list going forward forever. So there's only one time that they get that local preference. And then after that, the open list, which consists of both local and non-local, is going to be the list that will be at the property, the waiting list. And that's what the management company will work on.
Perfect. Thank you.
Off of that list.
Okay, so we had two more questions come in. Brian asked, if I already filed electronically, would you advise me if there are any errors? So we will reach out once we start diving in, which I think we're doing initial reviews in the next couple of weeks on the ones that are coming in. So you will hear from us, likely from Gail, because she obviously knows all the details, and she'll reach out and let you know if there's anything else she needs. And then there was a question of how long will the wait list stay active after the initial draw?
Well, it's really, it's gonna be continually added to, I believe, John, right? That wait list will be the wait list, and then any new applicants after the lottery deadline will be added to the bottom of that wait list, right? So that will be sort of ongoing in perpetuity.
I think that's right. And I can confirm with the compliance staff at POA, but my understanding is that we would go through the entire lottery list for any eligible households before going to an open wait list.
And here's a good question off of that. Someone asked, if no single bedrooms are available, is a single person allowed to rent a 2-bedroom?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the preference, and this really comes from DHCD, who kind of manages the compliance of all these properties, is to quote unquote right size the apartments. And so that means that you wouldn't have an apartment that has more bedrooms than people as kind of a first pass. And then if there aren't if there aren't enough people, if there aren't enough 2-person households to fill 2 bedrooms or so on, then on a second pass, we would be able to put someone who would be what DHCD calls overhoused, which just means, like you said, a 1-person and a 2-bedroom, rather than, leave it vacant or something. But typically it is just, typically we don't have a situation where people are overhoused.
Gotcha. Thank you, John. So they asked, how many months rent is required at lease up?
Thanks, Beth. So it's first, typically first and last, and then a small security deposit. It's usually very small. But let me check really quickly, and I'll get back to you in a few minutes if I find out something different.
Sure, I have a question for Gail up next, so that's perfect. Gail was asked, I've started my application. I have asset accounts which only issue statements every 3 months. Do I have to submit the last 3?
The most recent asset statement would be enough. We're looking for the income on the assets, not so much the assets. So that would help us to understand the value of the asset. And then you could just indicate what the income is on that asset. That should be enough.
Okay.
Thanks, Gail. And sorry, just to update Beth's question about, so it's just first months at move-in and a small security deposit.
Okay, good. So not first and last, just first.
That's right.
And then another question came in, can private pay rent be switched over to Section 8 mobile voucher when voucher is issued? So say a tenant has, is paying their full rent and then gets issued a Section 8 voucher. Are they allowed to switch that?
So if you're in a tax credit unit and you're paying rent and then you get issued a mobile voucher, you should be able to switch over to the mobile voucher.
Perfect. Okay. There's a question is for Gail. How is income of a full-time college student used? Is that person considered a second person for rental purposes, like a 2-bedroom place with me and the student, or with them and the student?
Yes, we would consider them a member of the household. And if they are a full-time student, I think that's one of the questions we asked for documentation of that. And we would count their income as, I think, about $480 total in income that we count for a full-time student. And yes, they would be considered part of your household. And yes, they would be make you a two-bedroom.
And there was also a question, what are the limits on assets?
There really is no limit on assets. We asked for the assets because we're mostly concerned about the income on the assets.
Mm-hmm.
And just to add something there, I think there's a calculation that HAC does,
Yeah,
where you take 2% of your assets. So if your assets were large enough, that 2%, which is, as Gail said, the income on your assets, if that number was large enough that it pushed you out of income compliance, then it would be an issue, but it typically would have to be a very large number for that to to affect your eligibility.
And what is the minimum income to qualify for a 1-bedroom? What's that minimum income number? Does anyone have that in front of them?
I do. So for a 1-bedroom, the minimum income is right at $31,000. And that's just a calculation that would suggest, if your income is much below that, then you'd have to pay a large percentage of your income as rent. And we just would typically not like to have folks be rent burdened by these apartments. And so it's not a hard and fast, if you have other assets, if you have other means of paying, but that's just kind of our rule of thumb for the application process.
Gotcha. Thank you. Does 403B count as an asset? That is for retirement income only.
The net cash value of it would count. If you're taking it, it would be income. If you're not taking it, then it would be an asset, and the net cash value would be if you were to call them up and say, I want to cash out my 403B, send me everything you can after interest and penalties, what will I have left? And that's the asset that we're looking for. But again, as John said, is probably not substantial enough to cause a big dramatic change in the income.
Perfect. Thank you. I can answer this next question. No, you do not need to be on Zoom at the time of the lottery poll. It'll be recorded just like this and put online, and we will also contact everyone with their number, so you don't have to worry about being there for that if you can't make it. So someone says, I might have missed it, but I was a few minutes late to Zoom. Are there photos of what the property looks like either online or somewhere else? So we have the drawings, if you guys want me to go back. The PowerPoint.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. Yeah, if you don't mind going back, that'd be great. And Nicole, we are setting up a property website, and I don't think it's live yet, because it's usually just for properties that are operating, but it should be up in the next week or 2 weeks. And the address, if you want to write it down, is just www.brewster-woods.com. So pretty easy to find, and there'll be floor plans. And right now this elevation on the screen is kind of the most polished image that we have. So it kind of shows the color, and it's kind of like a modern farmhouse style aesthetic. It's got nice hardy board panels, shed roofs, gable roofs. So it's going to look really nice. But I think we'll have the floor plans up online, and here's a sketch of the elevation. So it's this is the larger building, so it's 2 stories on the front side, elevator building, and we'll have the floor plans online, and the buildings will be there in person by August. So we'll get to see them at the ribbon cutting.
Okay, we have one more question that just came in. I am single and hold on, I just lost it. I am single and below the minimum income for 1-bedroom. If I can receive assistance from family for rent, can that be viable for an application? I'm awaiting a voucher. I have been notified I am at the top of the list.
Yeah, so I can start to answer that, Beth. So I think assistance from family, actually, I'm going to pass that to Gail for that part of the question. Is assistance from family viable for an application?
I think we would, in terms of the lottery, we would let them be in the lottery because they're under the income limit, and then they could show us that they'll have another ability to pay. And then when it comes to tenant selection, that's when it would be a harder look at the plan, and maybe they have a voucher by then, or there's some sort of a plan on how it's going to look and what the plan is going to be moving forward. Maybe they pay until they get the voucher, but as the tenant selection people, I think, have that final decision, and you can you can make a judgment on that, John, right? Of how that would look.
That's right. Right. We don't want to exclude folks who are going to be eligible. So we would encourage you to apply.
So the next question came in. I lived on the vineyard where they didn't have vouchers and now living in Falmouth. What are the vouchers? And I missed the 1/3 explanation.
So there are 7 project-based vouchers for 2 and 3 bedroom units.
Getting there, sorry, there we go.
No, thanks. So there's 4 2 bedrooms and 3 3 bedrooms that are project-based vouchers. And this essentially means for anyone that qualifies for these units that's under 30% of area median income, you would pay a percentage of your income, 30%, as your portion of rent. So they kind of operate the same as mobile vouchers, except that they stay attached to a unit, regardless of which family is living there. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the 1/3 explanation, if you want to follow up with another question.
Okay, while we wait for that response, Joan asked, in reference to pets, what does reasonable accommodation mean?
So that's just the name for a process with the management where essentially you would get permission for a service animal or something along those lines that's approved as kind of a service or working animal.
Perfect. Rachel asked, how will the energy generated by the solar panels be figured into individual unit utility bills? Which I'm pretty sure you said the utilities are included, correct?
That's right. So the utilities are all paid by the owner. So there won't be any individual utility bills. And as you suggest, the solar panels will cover almost all, if not all, of the on-site energy. So these buildings are going to be very energy efficient.
That's great. So someone said I was accepted to the meeting. Does that mean my application was accepted? If not, how can I verify I did properly submit and complete the application? So this is an open meeting for anyone that's interested in learning more about it. But we can reach out to you when we've reviewed your application and let you know if we're missing anything. Gail will likely reach out because she knows.
It would depend if you did it online and uploaded electronically, or if you sent it in as a paper copy. When you do it online, I think the computer will answer you back and say, yes, it's complete.
Well, I think it'll say it was submitted. We have to then go through and make sure that everything is in there, because I think people can hit submit without adding like any attachments or anything. So we're going to make sure that we thoroughly go through everything, and then we'll get back to people.
And there is a way to go back online too and add to finish your application until you get to the end.
Okay, so Beth was following up to your response, Gail. She said, I will not have a voucher by tenant selection. I would plan to pay privately until voucher is awarded. Yeah, which makes sense.
And that would be, yeah, that's up to the management company when they get to that tenant selection.
Is snow and trash removal taken care of by the property manager?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. I don't know that we have any. I think we're caught up on questions. We do have a little bit more time, so if anyone has questions, please pop it in the chat right now. If not, I will go back to this end slide here, which has the contact info. So again, if you have questions about the property, you can contact Jacqueline. If you have questions about the application process, you can reach out to Housing Assistance Corporation and Gail, and we will get you that information as well.
I think we just got another question.
Yes. With the 70% of units designated for Brewster, that means how many will be available for non-Brewster units for 1 bedrooms?
I have to do a calculation on that. The 1 bedroom PBVs, I believe, all come from the open pool. Oh, no, there's not, but the
I would say there's no
PBVs,
one bedroom for the.
PBVs come from the open pool,
Mhm.
so that's no local preference there. How many of the one bedrooms? There's 5 one bedrooms.
Mhm.
7 times 5, 35. 3 of the 5 probably.
So there'll be
May,
2 opened.
and
So-
it's not more than 70, and we don't know what the applicant pool will look like.
Right, so I think thanks, Gil. I think it depends on how many Brewster residents apply, but I think in rough numbers, it could be 2 of the 5 are non-Brewster residents, or 5 of the 5 are non-Brewster residents. It really depends on who applies for which unit sizes.
And another question came in, what happens if the number in the household changes, like it goes down? So they apply with 3 people and one of them moves out and then they're down to just 2.
So I think it depends at which point the household change happens. So, I mean, I think just generally, if at the initial compliance check, they would check your household size at that moment in time, and your eligibility. And then there are annual kind of recertifications. So if it happens sometime before between your move-in and the first year, at that recertification, then they would take into account any changes. But it really depends. If it happens right before you move in, then it would be taken into account. So I think that's a good question maybe for, hold on one second, sorry.
Everyone working from home, it's kind of difficult. Beth, to
Sorry.
answer, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that might be a good question for one-on-one with Hack.
Gotcha. And Beth, to answer your question, I pulled up the slide that has the breakdown of the units available. You can see it here in the second column. So the project-based vouchers, there are 4 2-bedrooms available and 3 3-bedrooms. And then down here on the 60% AMI not voucher, it is 5 1-bedrooms and 14 2-bedroom units.
And just to give a little context, so there are 8 1-bedrooms, but there are 5 that are in the lottery. And that's because 3 of them are Section 811 units, which are not part of the lottery process, but they are referred directly from the Department of Health and DRHC, I think, or mental services. Anyways, they're folks that typically might be in institutional settings otherwise, but this is kind of, they have support services, and this is a way for them to have affordable housing outside of an institutional setting. So there's 3 that are set aside for that purpose and 5 that are in the lottery.
And then there's a question, if my husband is out of the country and I'm not sure when he will be able to join us, do I have to include him in my application? And do I have to sign the application on behalf of him?
In terms of the lottery, I would say that if you're married, then you would include them as a member of your household, and you would include their income as well, based on the rules of the lottery. And when you are married, we ask for, if you're in the process of divorce or separation, we ask for documentation sometimes, because when you're married, you are still considered a one household with both incomes.
All right, do we have any other questions that want to pop in the last 15 minutes here? Or we still have Gail and John and Jill to help us out. Let's see. And let me know if you want me to show any others, go back to any slides. I'm happy to pop around again.
When you look at the application, there's there's 2 parts to it. There's an information packet that has a lot of information in it, and then there's the application. So it's a lot of papers and it looks like a lot, but when you start to read through it, it probably will make a lot more sense, and it's not as overwhelming as it appears based on there's a lot of disclosures and questions that have to be asked for various reasons. The other thing that you want to make sure too is, I've noticed a few where it talks about the minority section and you fill that in. A lot of people leave it blank or don't identify their minority. What we do is we have to do a minority balancing to make sure that the local pool has enough minority applicants in it to balance out the metropolitan statistical area of our area. So it could be a benefit to you to make sure that you fill that out. Because if you're an open person, in the open pool, you could maybe possibly be in the local pool. We'll do a mini lottery from the open pool till the minority percentages balance. So
Okay,
just make sure you fill that out.
we do have a couple more questions coming in. Kim asks, are there any market rate apartments? I believe these are all of the apartments in the complex, correct?
That's right. There aren't any market rate apartments. They're all income restricted.
Okay, with
We also
the,
have Serenity at Brewster, which is an over 55 community, and that has a higher income limit, like 54,950 for one person. So that's another option if you may be over the 60% and you're over 55 years old, maybe consider Serenity as well. And that's also on our website, and all the information is there in all the same places. It has the same deadline.
okay, with the, sorry, I have some questions coming in. With the 811 process, is a regular application also submitted? I'm not sure. Yeah.
So thanks, Susan. So those applicants really just get processed and referred to us. It's through DHCD, but it's from those organizations. And I'll send you my contact in case there's someone in particular that you think might be eligible, and I can refer to them to the right folks. So I'll send you that right now.
Okay, and that follows up her second question, right? The DDS, DRC, or mental health submit the 818 referral paperwork.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Gail, are there any 2 bedrooms in Serenity?
No, they are studios and 1 bedrooms.
All right. And we are caught up with our questions again. So if you'd like, we can wrap up. And again, this recording will go back on our website, and the Brewster Woods website will be up. You said you think next week, John, from POA?
Yeah, I think in the next week or two. Yep.
Great. Oh, we have another one. If I am a Brewster resident and was accepted from POA for Rock Harbor Apartments in October, but could not move in because of medical reasons, can I contact POA?
So
This is a whole new lottery for a new project. So there really isn't, in terms of the lottery, it would have to be a whole new application. Every brand new project needs a whole new, brand new waiting list. And John, you may have some other, things to tell her about.
Yeah, no, that's right. So you'd have to go through the lottery process, since the lottery is the same for everybody. If you're asking about moving into Rock Harbor specifically, I would reach out to the property manager. But for this project, you would have to go through the lottery.
Yeah, they could probably get on the waiting list at Rock Harbor, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Gail, someone asked another Serenity question. How is it selected for who is in a 1-bedroom versus who is in a studio? If they're a single person, does that automatically mean that they're in a studio apartment?
No, they're going to be chosen based on their spot on the waiting list, and people will decide that they can choose based on their place on the waiting list what they would like, because there's different rents as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
And is
not
it-
going to be,
Is it also 70% Brewster residents?
no, that one's actually 50.
So only half the units, okay. Daria asks, do I have to show SNAP benefits?
It's not income, right?
I don't believe it's usually counted as income. We can check with that. If you want to email the CCRE email that's on there, the hack email, that'll go right to Gail, and then she can check into that for you just to get you a concrete answer.
I don't think it's considered income. For the lottery anyway, I'm not sure for, tenant selection.
All right, so we are caught up again. If there's any last questions, I know we've had some people hop off. So I think a lot of people have been sending in their questions so far.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yes, thank you guys for joining.
Good luck to everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.